let's get a little.
Are you already getting comments?
I don't know, maybe. Alright. Should be fun.
Oh, people are already joining. What up?
Greetings, friends. Welcome to another episode of Devil Dog Addiction. I was going to do this all by myself, talking about drifting, wasting time, not being able to find your purpose, not understanding who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, and all that good stuff in the universe. Alright, so I got a good buddy here, Esteban. How's it going?
How you doing, guys?
We've talked before the other day. We talked about family dynamics, so this talk shouldn't be as heavy as that one was. So look, there's a difference between being active, right, and actually moving forward in your life. A lot of people can be doing a lot of things, but not actually moving forward in their life. Oh shit. In our day and age of constantly getting bombarded by everybody all at once saying, give me your attention, give me your attention, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should feel this, you should feel that, you should be out there taking care of everything, don't be lazy, but then of course then you got other side of it where people are like, whoa, you need to just chill out, man. You need to be mindful. Practice some mindfulness. Stop and smell the roses. Chill out. Like stress shows up. It manifests itself in your body physically, right? Like if you ever, that, right? Like people are so stressed out sometimes they give themselves like an ulcer, right? Just based on stress. So. What are we thinking here, Esteban, in the terms of being active or actually moving your life forward in a meaningful direction?
I mean, you see, with me, like, that's kind of, I guess you can kind of, like the way I'm looking at that is, like, honestly, this environment as a whole and this conversation that we're having, me and you, kind of, it's kind of hits full circle on this topic because honestly, before I came to the Illinois Media School, I was one of those people doing exactly what you were saying. I was at home. I was so down. I was emotionally beat down. Thinking that not knowing what to do actually, but because honestly, I was in between careers, telling myself that I didn't want to keep going back into the food industry because the food industry is one of the most brutal career industries that you could possibly work in my opinion.
You're talking gig jobs like that, or like you just mean like food industry in general?
Just in general, dude. Gig jobs are okay because gig jobs. The way I would look at gig jobs in the food industry is like, okay, you're walking around with a little ice cream cart. That's a little side gig, but working in the industry, meaning like
you have like chefs and servers, all that stuff like that.
So after that, I took a break from working in the food industry, and when I took a break, my brother was doing that exact thing that you're saying. Get out, come on, hurry up, come on, do something. Feed the dogs. Take them out for a walk. Hurry up, come on. Right. And sometimes he does it, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, dude, I was just about to do that. Yeah, well, you were just about to do that. Not knowing that, I'm like, yeah, I was just about to do that. There's no need to get on my ass about it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what he did, and there's been other times when, again, it's bright, sunny outside. I wake up. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, which I'm normally an early bird, So for me
Yeah,
to wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning, that's kind of saying something like something's wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So, but it was one of them. You know, I wake up in the morning. You know, crack my eyes. You know, it's bright, sunny. Screw this. I don't want to deal with it. I'm too depressed. Roll back in the
Right.
bed and just ball myself out. You know?
Have you found? I don't know about you, but this is a good. We can just segue into this real quick. Is like depression and sleep, and staying in bed. And I know for me, if I'm in like a fit of a deep depression, sometimes I'll just like stay in bed for long periods of time to the point where I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, dude, you need to get up because the longer you stay here, I'm just getting you get antsy and you can't sleep for more than like maybe 10 or 15 minutes at a time. But then in my mind, there comes a point when you've like gone too far where now you are sleepy because you're staying in bed all the time. You know, and that's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
Because that's like the pit of depression and despair in my mind.
That's where I was at, dude. Like I would, you know, I would crack my eyes open. You know, I didn't want to do anything. All I would do all day is
You're
lay in
staying
my
out
bed
of the
and just.
sunlight too, like staying out of the sunlight.
Dude,
no?
I watched literally everything, like in my mind, everything that there is to watch of interest to me on YouTube to a point where like.
you watched it all.
Yeah, and again, you know, going back to what I was saying, thank God that I came to this place because thank God I came across Illinois Media School because when I came in the doors, you know, shout out to Felicia and Nisa for both Felicia being the
Intake, one of the intake counselors over here, which is pretty cool.
And Nisa Ruiz for actually bringing me on.
Yeah, a fellow student. She's got her own stuff going on. Hot tea with Nini. She's got her cool little events that she does. So check out her stuff, Nini Ruiz.
And so they, you know, I came across a post on Facebook from Nini, and I was like, I'm gonna go check out the Illinois Media School. I loved it, and now look at us now. Here we are having this conversation. I'm not in that depressive. I'm not in bed obviously all day because hey,
right.
It's like one of the instructors here told me something, and I didn't believe it until 8 months later. I'm actually living it now, or semi-living it. Media never sleeps.
Well, that's true. But in terms of in getting off our ass or getting out of our beds or I like to say I need to get into my own life. You know, because you're here. If you're watching this, if you stumble across this, if you hear any of this, if you're cognizant enough to talk about this type of stuff, you are alive, you know, in the sense of the word, right? So if you're not doing something to create or doing something active, you're going to be doing something, right? So I like to say is if you're not moving forward, you're moving back, you know? But a lot of us are active, right? We do things. A lot of us like to respond to things. How many of us out there find ourselves not having an original thought of our own, but just reacting to people all the time? Oh, what did this person? Oh, I'm reacting to this. Oh, I'm reacting to that. Oh, what do I feel about this? What do I feel about that? Now, of course, a lot of us scroll. A lot of us doom scroll. A lot of us get stuck, like Esteban was talking about, in YouTube, right? But the problem is that when you step back and in my mind, well, in my life, I find myself be like, oh crap. I'm like having moments of lucidity where I'm like, oh my God, I've just been on this phone for like an hour. You know what I mean? I'm like, look at the time. Oh my God, I'm supposed to be doing this. Oh, what am I doing right now? You know? I don't know if you have any of that type of stuff, but days go by. And before you know it, it's almost summer. And I feel like Christmas was just happening. You know? I mean, like we were just bitching about how cold it was in Chicago, and now I gotta go get sunscreen.
Hey, there's always Christmas in July, right?
I guess there's always Christmas in July. But the problem, my friends, is when time stops feeling real, which is what our society of screens is doing to us. There's actually scientific studies out there that show that when you are immersed in your phones and in your screens, you don't process time the same that you would anyway, my son, anywhere you normally would. And the most dangerous part about this is drifting. Now first, let's get into a real quick reading from how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail to have thoroughly followed our path. The message is simple here, folks. When people fully commit to things, follow through is the hard part, right? We all got great ideas, we all got plans, we all got delusions of grandeur, but how do we take an idea and turn it into motivation and then turn it into something actual that we can either positively affect other people's lives or our own in it. You got any thoughts about any of that stuff, Esteban?
Honestly, again, like when you speak like that, Nick, I refer back to my roots. Being in the food industry again, you have a lot of the food industry, and I don't mean to be as vulgar as I'm gonna be with this, but the food industry is the literal definition of drugs, sex, rock and roll, dude.
Oh yeah,
It is.
yeah. It's high intensity, high stress. There's a lot of. It's almost like high school sometimes.
Yeah, and so with that one, dude, there's always like at the end of the day, there's always people literally drive themselves into the ground, dude. Like over people literally drive themselves into the ground over. Nick looks at a steak like, oh, it's just a steak. I look at a steak like, no, dude, it's not a steak. It's a New York steak. It's a filet mignon, like. And you're looking at it like, dude, a steak is a steak.
Bro, if it doesn't move when I touch it, I'm happy, right?
You don't know, like, the lack of understanding, dude. And aside from that, like, just, man, like, there's so much mental illness in the food industry that's just based off of, like, ADHD, OCD, like.
Right. ADHD is actually a power, and once you learn how to utilize it, or a lot of people take advantage of people that have ADHD.
Yeah,
right? The way they can burn them out a lot of times.
Exactly, and then, dude, the burnout is real because honestly, dude,
Say that again.
The burnout is real, dude.
Burnout is real, my friends. Don't let people tell you that it's not.
Don't let people convince you. Oh, you've been here all day. You can last a few more minutes. You can last a few more hours. No. Do not let people do that to you. If you feel you need to step away, put your foot down. Tell them no. Me personally, I've done that before. I've gone as far as doing that to my own brother, to where my brothers are coming down on me, and I just step away and let them literally crash and burn, and they're looking at me like I'm the biggest asshole. Hey,
oh, right, and then they try to guilt you that,
asshole.
oh, you're being selfish, that type of shit. That's right, be selfish. You can't take care of others until you take care of yourself. They tell you that shit on the airplane, man. It's the whole airplane mask analogy, right? You can't help others unless you have a healthy yourself. Now, I like what he was talking about right there, but I'm going to flip it over to one thing real quick. When we do double dog addiction, we always have definitions. Some keywords or phrases that work toward our goal in today's episode. The first one, my friend, is inertia. The tendency to stay in your current state. Now, this is like the definition like science, but we know that an object in motion will stay in motion until acted upon by an outside force. We're talking about this in the idea of our lives and being productive and being like humans that are well balanced, at least enough that we're not damaging the earth or ourselves more than we're making it better, right? The tendency to stay in our current state mentally or physically unless something forces change. For me, rock bottom, a lot of addicts that have hit the rock bottom, you don't really know that your rock bottom is rock bottom until you hit it at least the second or third or fourth time. But it is there, my friend. Something forces you to change. What has forced you to change, Esteban? Because you have said it yourself, you have changed. You've seen that I've seen your change, and I haven't even known you for that long. So I'm sure that people that have known you for a long time have seen some change, and so.
Honestly, dude, when it comes to change, and we've discussed this brief. We went into discussion last time I was here with, or not here, but we were
on the show, right?
Yeah, on the
show.
show.
The studio.
At the other studio. So when we were talking about
family dynamics.
Yeah, So what happened was I was again, I'm not gonna sit here and paint a halo over my head and say I'm the spitting image of
the baby Jesus.
Yeah, but because I'm not, like I've had my fair share of bumps and bruises. I've given up my fair share of bumps and bruises, and I'm gonna be the first to admit it,
Right.
But as like now, now when I look back at situations now or versus back then, you know, I was arrogant. You know, I was walking around. You know, I felt like no one can knock me down. Sure enough, I tripped and fell on my face, and sure enough, now here I am, like getting up and realizing, hey, like I tripped and fell because I was holding my head up too high, you know.
Right.
And so now here I am, you know, with my head like fairly well squared on my shoulders, and now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, now you know that was a humbling experience. Let me not do that again.
Right. Have you found that connection with other people has helped your motivation?
Honestly, yeah.
And I know for me, it's easy to isolate, and me isolating is like the worst thing for my productivity a lot of times, like or feeling decent, you know, because at least if I get out of the house or I know that I have to, someone else is relying on me for something,
Yeah.
I can like feel a little bit of value in that.
Yeah, like when you say that, dude, I think about the time when I lived back with my roommate. When I lived with my roommate, dude, like again, you know, I was going through my fair share of depression, doing the same thing I mentioned earlier, where you know, you know, I was laying in my bed all day doing nothing. My room is an absolute disaster. You know,
Right.
no sense of me wanting to get up and maybe I should clean up a little bit. No, I'm just gonna go ahead and you know eat some more garbage in bed and just toss it out to the side.
Just
You know,
set it to the side so then it's a gigantic mess.
I'll get there eventually. Sure
Right.
enough, you know, eventually in my mind, had it not been for my roommate, eventually would never come. So my roommate, he would always walk in my room like, dude, your room is a disaster. Come on, man, get up, do something. And sure enough, there I would be, you know, like get up, do something now because I'm looking at it now because I was like, man, like, or at that moment I was like, you know what? He's right. Not only is my room a disaster, but I walked into his house. This is technically still his house because I'm living with him.
Okay.
So, what is it, or how is it, or how am I making myself look if I walk into your house, make a mess, and just refuse to clean it up?
Right. Yeah.
You know, like I have to. You know, like it's common principle. You know.
Right. And the fact that, like you said, it seems like such a outright easy thing to be like, yeah, of course. Why would I make this big mess? Why would I feel so depressed when I got like people around? Why would I do this? Why would I do that? The why is something that we all struggle with. I don't have the answer to some of these questions, you know, especially when you go to a therapist or a psychiatrist and they're like, well, why did you do that? Why did you do that? And for the fucking life of me, I can't understand why I do some of the things that I've done. And it's very frustrating. And another definition we got real quick is apathy, a state of emotional flatness where we know things matter, but we just can't bring ourselves to feel it. And that, my friends, is a difficult state to be in when you know that you should be feeling good about something, but you just don't feel good about it. Or how about this? Things that you used to be excited for, things that you used to enjoy, but now you just don't enjoy them very much. Have you ever had anything like that happen?
Video games.
Video games?
Video games, dude. Like and again, I say this because I feel like it was the depression doing that to me, dude. Like I feel like my depression, and again, family dynamics, dude. Like my background is more so. My background's been a lot of like turmoil and chaos to a point where I would literally lock myself in my room, be depressed, and you know wonder why me, you know, oh woe is me. I would do all that, and sure enough, like it got to a point where like I thought to myself, hey, you know, maybe if I'm sitting here as quiet as can be, you know, like maybe I could pass off like the vibe like I'm not here, you know?
Right, you just disappear into the like the furniture.
Between
blend into the wall.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty fucked up, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that can empathize with that feeling.
Between that and having everything that I liked at one point was literally broken because like they people would see that, oh, like Esteban is so invested into his laptop. He needs to get up and he needs to ride a bike. He needs to get up and get some exercise. But we're not gonna make him get off his laptop. So maybe we could break it. If we break his laptop, then he's got no choice but to get up and get some exercise.
Right.
So at that point, dude, I was like, I've grown to be a minimalist to a point where like I realized, hey, I don't need a 70-inch TV with Wi-Fi. I don't need a PS5. I don't need a whole video game system. As long as I have my bed, I'm good.
Right. So I think that right there is it takes people decades, a lifetime to come to that conclusion. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it brings you such less peace if you're always like, well, I need the next biggest thing. I need that, or I need that, I need that. Because there's always going to be something else that you're going to need. And that's a very difficult thing also for me to feel like, oh, well, if I want to complete this project, I need this equipment or this to do it or that to do it.
You need,
and
you know what you need?
Yeah. No. What?
Or you know what everyone needs? Priority. Prioritize.
I like that.
I need
actually do it. Like, write it down.
I need a PS5. A PS5 costs $500.
And that's just for the console.
Yeah, and now, but at the same time, you're about 2 weeks behind or you're about a month behind on rent.
Right.
$500, but I want a PS5. But you also need to pay rent. See what I'm saying? Prioritize like that. Like I'm not, and I don't mean to come at anybody specific or anybody in general, but like.
Oh no, these are real life examples, my friend. These are things that happen all the time. Now, speaking of PS5, speaking of the technology, speaking of screens, got a couple stats for us. 2025, the average adult spends approximately 7 hours and 4 minutes a day on their screens. That's almost 2,500 hours a year. 44% of our waking life is spent in digital environments rather than intentional real-world activity. Esteban, I think that is damaging society as a whole. And when I talk to people out and about, everybody seems to say the same thing. But technology and AI and screens and the everything everywhere all at once in our face continues to keep coming. What is up with this? And us in
advancement.
Right, civilization. Here it comes, the big tidal wave of fucking craziness. I was thinking this. We now have the ability to keep track of people, hold people accountable, because everything's being recorded all the time. Yet, people with immense power continue to get off every single freaking day, getting super duper, easy peasy, lucky ducky things left and right. Hey, a 2025 economic study found passive digital consumption can reduce memory encoding by up to 35%. This means that our brains retain significantly less of our day when our engagement is low. It makes it feel that our time is disappearing, my friends. We cannot spend all of our time immersed in our digital environments.
Hey, Nick. Speaking of being immersed in digital environments, is that study based off of just looking at your phone? Or is it based off of looking at, like, is that just how much time people spend doing this? Or is that how much time people spend actually doing this? Like watching TV?
There's probably a combination of the two. It's probably any screens, like iPad, computer, phone.
I can kind of see a little bit of a difference in that, because a phone, you take your phone everywhere with you, versus being watching TV, like you're just when you're watching TV, you're normally laid out in bed or laying on the couch and doing this and just watching TV.
How many people watch TV and are doom scrolling on their phone at the same time? I know this, that I've been playing PlayStation with a buddy where the TV's been on, right? We got the game on the iPad. The one guy's playing like, what is it? It's like Metal Gear Solid, right? So we're switching it back and forth. And while the one guy's playing, the other guy's on his fucking phone. You know what I'm saying? So there's like we're quadruple dipping.
There's
It's
a
just
there's a
like,
bad example of everything all in that one
right,
room.
yeah, just all right there.
That's
It's
crazy.
ridiculous. You know, you would think that once we were aware of this issue, we would start fixing things. Why do we not fix things and we just kind of get swept up back into it? I was thinking when we were talking about inertia earlier, when we start to do things that are successful, they will build success. So the hard part is remembering that a journey begins with a single step. So, Esteban, what in your mind are you thinking is your next journey going towards? Because I've been thinking about this. We're doing the media stuff. We're finding our voice. We're thinking about different things. What are you kind of feeling for your voice moving forward? And your what kind of successes do you want to build upon? That might be a better way to say it.
Honestly, like as far I've I haven't really put much thought into that yet because again I'm one of the guilty ones of the conversation that we're having right now. I will admit. But again, this is just the fact that I'm acknowledging it shows like
No, it's great. It's
You know?
It means that we're open to the idea of change. And if there's one thing that will make life much easier is if we grow to understand that change is a part of life.
I was gonna say, like I'm looking at me sitting here with you and having this conversation. These past conversations that we've had, actually, every time we sit down and we have a conversation, I feel like there's some form of growth,
Right.
because with you, I've always been able to acknowledge literally everything about what's been going on with me as of recently, everything that's been going on with me in the past, and everything like that, and like it's all a matter of mental and physical growth. Now it's just a matter of where do we go from here, which I'm still figuring that out.
Right.
Thankfully, right now I have a job with my current employer. He's a garage door guy. Shout out to North Shore Garages. If you guys need anything as far as garage doors go, mechanics, repairs, anything of that sort, look up North Shore Garage, guys. Also, I also wanted to take this little moment to give a shout out to Real Talk Chicago on Instagram. That is the platform that I am currently associated with and currently looking forward to expanding and building upon.
Nice.
And from there, it's one of those things like I'm looking at the media school and the media industry the same way I went about my career in the food industry. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go in the food industry, but I knew I wanted to be a part of it. So
Right.
what I did is I took my little bits of little tidbits of experience from each and every one of my jobs,
Right.
and
I
then
like that.
just put it all together. Like from here, I took what I learned from here to in the media school, applied it to my job with the garage door guy that I'm working with,
I like that.
and then everything that I'm learning from him, I'm gonna take that and expand upon it on my next venture.
See, I like what Esteban touched on right there. The idea that we don't have to limit ourselves to say we learned this or we learned that. Whatever you've learned in any walk of your life, you can try to take that and use it to adapt it to whatever situation that you're in. Don't feel like you've wasted parts of your life doing certain things. Now, of course, I feel that way. I feel like I've wasted so much time doing monotonous bullshit jobs or tasks. But looking back on it now, it shaped me into who I am. And at these places, like lots of things, the job wasn't really the reason for it. I did these things because I needed money. I didn't do it because I got any good happiness out of the job, which meant that I had to turn the job into something fun, which meant that I had to connect with the people that I worked with. I don't know about you, Esteban, but some of the craziest people and relationships I've had are the wackadoodles that I've met at some of the like shittiest jobs ever, dude. Dude, I had this job where I fucking sold paintings, reprints, fucking. I went to like to like doctor's offices, like that type of shit. I was like, hey, can I sell you this picture? You know, they had like posters and prints around the place like that. Dude, it was the most ridiculous job I ever had. It was horrible.
The most wacky job,
Oh yeah,
I've
we can
ever
start
had.
talking about wacky jobs, not like this one.
The most wacky job I've ever had, dude, I would have to say would be with my one of my first jobs in the food industry. I was working for my sister's my
It was like a catering company.
no, so okay, this is gonna be a little funny. So
Oh, here we go.
Melrose Park, like the area that I grew up in, Melrose Park has been rumored to be like, you know, it's heavily Italian influenced. Let's just leave it at that, you know.
Alright.
So my boss he's a retired firefighter, you know, and he was one of the bigger, more like, you see him walking, like people see him walking around and they're like, oh, hey, it's him, like,
So and so.
Yeah,
He's
you
a
know.
big deal.
yeah. I didn't know that, you know. He's a big deal. He was. So anyway, I didn't know that, and then like one day, like he owned a restaurant right next door to the apartment complex that my sister lived at. You know what I'm saying, right? And the people he hired, dude.
You don't want to meet him in the back alley?
Nah, I mean it's not that. It's just one of those like, it's one of those you would question people like, how did you get this job?
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously we know how you got the job because you probably had some association in some sense with you know, somebody around the area or whatnot. But at the same time, it's like, you know, and it's not in a bad way. You know, like, you know, the friendly servers. But the friendly servers and, you know, all that, but the things you see behind the scenes in the food industry, dude, absolutely hilarious.
Oh yeah.
It's hilarious coming from this. If you're a cook watching things going on, you know, or with the front end of the house, the drama from the front end of the house is hilarious. Now.
And you guys are just in the back cooking?
No, yeah, but going back into the back, you want to hear stories coming from the back of the house? Those are like traumatizing war stories, dude.
Oh, that's funny.
But like, dude, so there was one time, like, my manager, he just recently passed away. Rest in peace, Joey. I'm sorry for you know, rest in peace. But yeah, his name was Joey. He recently passed away about a couple days ago. I worked for this guy about 10 years ago, and I still kept in touch with the manager because me and him were just that close, you know.
Right.
I would give. Like within the first day that I was there, I was an anxious, nervous wreck because I didn't know what I was doing. I wanted to prove myself. I didn't know what I wanted to prove, but I wanted to prove myself. So, what happened with him was, he looked at that and he was like, yeah, you're too nervous, you're too jumpy, people are skeptical about you, I gotta let you go. Within the first day.
That.
You know, I came home crying to my sister, you know, and then my sister went back and talked to the owner of the establishment. The owner, I guess he came down on the manager for being too harsh on me, so the manager brought me back, you know? And then after he brought me back, that's when I stepped up, you know, like I settled down, stepped up, you know, proved my worth, and the manager loved me. He loved me to a point where he was like, I was his ace in the hole, he would call me. So what happened with him, I would give, like, I worked with him and got to know him so well to a point that me and him would talk outside of work, you know? And when we would talk outside of work, this was back when marijuana was still illegal. It was one of those, hey, you got something for me, kid? Meet me in the alley. I got you, Joey. Come on, let's go. You know? So I would smoke with him, and then next thing I would smoke with him, and I would give him weed, and he would add hours onto my paycheck that I hadn't worked.
Nice.
So
because that's how he was gonna pay for his weed.
bro, no, and even then, it was like this. Like I would give him a half a gram. A half a gram would last a man 3 days.
That's
How?
funny. I don't know.
And so anyway, so my paycheck would go from I would look at my paycheck, the hours worked, I would work about 20, 30, and then after I gave him a half a gram, 50.
Nice.
Fucking, he would give me overtime, bro.
Alright. Well, before Esteban incriminates anybody else in tax evasion and fraud and anything like that, we're going to move on because we like to get on tangents over here. When two guys with ADHD start talking, we can go from talking about motivation to fucking pizza on the moon real quick. Hey, the 2026 behavioral study found avoidance coping increases long-term stress levels by over 45% despite providing short-term emotional relief. When we're talking about avoidance, if we want to get better, if we want to overcome the problems that we have right now, we need to actually confront them. You know, a lot of people say that the first step in any type of recovery journey is admitting that there's a problem. And avoiding it, rationalizing, compartmentalizing, and just outright avoiding things. I don't know about you, Esteban, but there was a while where I would just avoid my mail, you know, because like nothing good ever came into mail for me. It was always like a bill, or you're late, or a notice, or give us this, give us that, we need that. And then it's like the phone calls are like, oh, hey, you owe us money, you owe us this. I'm like, fucking block, fucking.
Here's a little
If I
OT.
owed the drug man some money, the dope man, like fucking $100, I'd just move out of that neighborhood.
Here's a little ode to you, Nick. You get a little notice in the mail, you open it up, you've been drafted.
Oh shit. The one,
Oh my God.
The one mail, the one fucking letter that you opened over all the years, like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna open this one letter. Oh, what the fuck? I've been drafted. What the fuck? Dude.
You've been drafted, that's crazy.
How about this? Approximately 20% of adults are classified as chronic procrastinators. You put things off till tomorrow, what you could easily do today. It sounds like Esteban may relate.
Laundry.
Oh, laundry, yeah, dude. Or like you said earlier, cleaning. It's easier to keep something clean than it is to let it pile up and build up and turn into a fucking science project in the fridge than it is to, and I speak that from self experience, than it is to,
Science project in the fridge.
yeah, than it is to like tidy up as you go. Even though at the time it's not, it's like, dude, it's so fucked up how our brains work. It feels good to just like throw, you're like, you're like, bah, just throw your trash on the floor. You're like, ah, that feels good. I'll pick that shit up later.
Dude, oh, I have a.
But then what do you add in hoarding? You know, it's funny in a sense, but it's fucking super sad. You know, because it fucks people's lives up. And it like for me, I can't be productive moving forward if my regular life isn't tidied up. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It makes sense to me, and what I can say on that is more like me being my mom's current caretaker.
Oh yeah, shout out to Esteban. He takes good care of his moms, and we send her. If you have thoughts and prayers, if you prayed anybody out there, drop a good word to the man upstairs for Esteban's mom, because she's a trooper. She's healing from a injury.
Thank you for that, Nick. But I mean, so my mom, she has a thing of like, she has a thing of holding on to things like I was looking for something in her room the other day, and I think I was looking for some nail clippers for her, because she wanted me to get her nail clippers.
Right.
So I'm looking through her room, and dude, I'm finding bits and pieces of a project of mine from when I was in kindergarten.
What?
I don't even remember doing that project. And I'm like, I'm finding bits and pieces of that amongst a drawer, like cluttered to a point where like it's cluttered to a point
Oh,
where
all your school projects?
just everything.
Oh.
There's literally a little bit of everything, and my school project was in there. You know what I'm saying,
That's
right?
crazy, dude. That's like 30 years ago. Like
Exactly.
20 years ago.
Exactly, and I'm like, dude, like, why? How? Like, dude, my mom's, and I mean this like with all due respect, you know, like
In a loving manner.
my mom is a hoarder to a point where like her drawers, like the drawers in her room, when you open them, dude, you would think it's
It'd be like an avalanche fall on you or some shit.
no, like there's so much
Or you
garbage
can't
in there.
even, can't even get it open.
In the cartoons, when the cartoon character opens a door,
Yeah,
and
go.
think, yeah, exactly like that.
Like straight Roger Rabbit style.
You would think, dude, like it's cluttered like that, and it's sad because like there's no need for it. But every time I tell my mom, like it triggers me, and you know, this is more of a. I'm realizing this now, you know what I'm saying, or not. I shouldn't say I'm realizing this now. I've realized like this has always been a thing with me, but like it's one of them things where this is where this
You're
is
like
room.
processing it now. Or something?
Yeah, this is room to growth on my end because it's aggravating on my end, you know, because I'm looking for something and I can never find it because it's just a bunch of clutter.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you know,
Right.
I will admit, you know, I
Doesn't it
respond.
like make you physically sick?
No,
Like,
I respond rather aggressively to my mom because I'm like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, I need to find this, but I can't find it amongst all your freaking trash.
Yeah,
you know,
the anxiety is back.
exactly, and I don't mean to respond that way, but and then that triggers her. She responds.
Yeah,
she responds
it's like
negatively to me,
a cycle, and
we're just yelling at each other over
right,
something
like,
unnecessary.
just stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
just like
you know.
an issue that shouldn't even be an issue.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like it's like I'm processing things now, and you know, like it's one of them things where like I'm probably gonna go home and you know, next time I come into that situation to where you know I find a bunch of clutter in her drawer, instead of reacting negatively,
leave it there.
Instead of reacting negatively, just you know, leave it there. Like just if you can't find it, you can't find it. Whatever. There's no need.
Right.
You know, that's what I'm always. I'm always one of those people that to give advice, like, I could be a hypocrite at first, you know, and I will openly admit it. I'll give you advice based off of something that even I can't control. You know what I'm saying? Like, anger, you know, anger is a big thing of mine that I can't control, but I'll sit here and try to talk you through.
Like, oh, this is how to deal with anger. Like that type of shit.
And next thing you know, it's like one of them, like, you know, you're dealing with it, and next thing you know, it's like, okay, well, I just talked Nick through it. Why can't I do it on my own?
Hey, that right there is a huge thing. I'm glad that he just said that. How many of us out there can fix everybody else's life at a drop of fucking pin, but we can't do shit to organize or fix our own? It's so frustrating. It's like a therapist that is like winning awards for like saving fucking people's lives left and right, but they're like everything in their life is just a mess. You know, their relationships, their interpersonal relationships, their romantic relationships, you know, their self-esteem is in the gutter. But they read all these books, they have letters after their names. And that just goes to show, man, that humans be humanin', okay? So if you are not feeling okay, if you're feeling like a human, be okay with it, you know? But also, don't let that be an excuse to just, you know, take a mental health day every day of the week for like 5 months. You know, because there's a way of overcorrecting these things, you know, and I'm all for taking time off when you need it. But self-awareness is going to be the last little thing that we touch on tonight. Today. You can't move forward, you can't learn, you can't have growth, you can't find your purpose, you can't be a productive member of society for the world to make a better place if you are not self-aware of who you are, and what you're trying to accomplish in your life. But like Esteban said earlier, that doesn't mean that when someone asks you, or you have to have these answers like off the top of your head, you know, like a well-oiled booklet, you know. These are things that can change overnight, you know. Sometimes you go to school and you want to learn this, And then you meet someone who tells you, hey, there's also this, that's a company type thing. And before you know it, you're down a whole new path. But the only way to have that happen, my friends, is to be open to this type of thing. And that means getting out of your comfort box. And that means that you have to realize that change is the only constant in life. And you're going to be uncomfortable sometimes. And however you're feeling right now, it'll change. You know what I'm saying? But have you ever been in a mood or like a feeling and you just feel, you're like, I know at some point I felt happy, but right now I just don't even know what happiness feels like. You ever felt that before?
Oh, I've been that I was at that point. Like I said, I was at that point before I came to school here. You know, before I came to school here, when I was in between my jobs, when I was in between jobs and in between career paths, where I got out of the food industry, jumped into the media industry, and now it's
You gotta start back at scratch.
Yeah,
like,
you
start
know.
At, like all that, like you said, how long ago was that you were saying that your old boss, you first met him, and it was like 10, 15, 20 years or some shit like that?
What was that?
The story you were telling earlier, how you met the guy and your
Oh yeah,
sister went back.
my old boss. I met
How
him
many years ago was that?
probably about like my sister. I want to say this was back in like 2012, 2013.
So, dude, yeah, that's a decade or more, decade and a half. So, I mean, think about think about how much changes in 10 years. Like, good Lord. Who knows where you were to where you're going to be, which is why you just can't ever count yourself out. So, Esteban, before we leave, you got any advice, any tips, anything that's in your mind that you want to talk about? And then also let us know what you got going on. Give us your hashtag shameless plugs and give a couple shout outs or let us know what your final word is.
Well, honestly, I just want to say this. Like on this little conversation that we had here, there was multiple times and points where I felt like this little quote and like these couple little quotes can actually correlate. First one would be from the Three Stooges, actually.
Oh boy, here we go.
Friends are people who share the same mental illnesses.
I like that.
And then comes another one of my. And then comes another one of my this one's a little more personal to me because I've been locked in a psych ward before, I'm not gonna lie.
I have too. It's no fun.
Every time I come out of the psych ward, dude, there's always one thing that I do just for comfort, and I call this my comfort movie. The Joker. Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay.
I don't know why, but hey, it's like in my mind, it's one of those. Hey, like I just finished losing my mind. Let me just sit down and watch someone else lose theirs.
Right, I like that. That's a good one.
So speaking of the Joker, there was a quote not from that movie.
Which Joker do you like the best?
I want to say between Joaquin Phoenix and Heath Ledger. Joaquin Phoenix because I can relate to his method of madness or his form of madness, and Heath Ledger because let's face it, Heath Ledger is arguably the greatest Joker of all time.
True, that is true.
But
and super shitty for Heath Ledger, addiction, mixing medications, don't take pills and fucking drink, and don't mix your cocktails with your medications.
There's one thing that was quoted from the Joker. I'm not sure which Joker quoted this, but madness is like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
I think I've heard that one. I like it.
It's fitting. It's fitting, But with that one being said, again, madness being like gravity. Don't let people push you around. Don't let people walk all over you. Stand up for yourself. Do something. Do something active. Be proactive. Don't be reactive.
Yeah. Hey, that brings us full circle. We mentioned at the beginning of the show, in a world that wants you to react with anger, with whatever, the old lesson, man. Before you act, count to 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it's just as much as taking the time to just process these things and not instantly reacting.
I want speaking on that one. I just want to drop this one little more tidbit, which this is more like, oh my god. So, did you know when you buy a gun legally at the store, they make you go through a mandatory cool off period before you can have access to your weapon.
Oh, really? So in case like you're like
So like yeah, I
you're
feel
buying
like
it in anger or
I
some
feel
shit
like
like
yeah,
that.
it's like one of those like hey, I'm angry, I'm gonna go buy. I don't want to buy a gun off the streets and get myself in trouble. So I'm gonna go legally buy a gun and just right.
Right.
So like they make you go through a mandatory cool off period where like yeah, cool, you'll buy you can have you bought your gun, cool, pick it up in 2 days, pick it up in 3 days.
Right. Yeah.
But I want my gun now. No, no, no. Pick it up in 3 days.
No.
Why? We know you could be angry. We know you could be crazy. We're gonna make you before we just give you your weapon and just ship you off. We're gonna make you go through a mandatory cool off period where we're gonna put you in timeout and say, hey, think about this before you react.
Right. Hey, and if that's that's a huge issue. We're talking life and death right there, but we learn this in all walks of life. If you can't be responsible with the little things, you're not going to be responsible with the big things. So, I'm talking about, my friends. So, I think that was a pretty good talk today. Hey, what do you got going on there, though? You said shout out again to that company you're working for.
The garage door company is called North Shore Garage. If you guys need any repairs, remodels, anything as far as like garage door needs, give them a jingle. Look them up on Google, Facebook, and the podcasting on the podcasting side of things.
Oh, what's the sports thing that you guys do?
Sports.
You do a sports show with these guys or no?
No, that's just like general like. He wants. It's more of like a comedy thing. Like he wants more of like a comedy like, just general audience,
Nice.
But yeah, it's called Real Talk Chicago. Look them up on Instagram.
Nice. And my friends, you can check out my other show called Disabled Vets Love Disabled Pets. If you have an animal, you have a disabled vet that you love, if you have a disabled pet that you love, let us know. Aside from
Smudge,
that,
by the way.
that's right. Smudge is the cutest little kitty cat. Go over
Shout
there
out to
and
you.
say hi to little Smudge. But for everything else, there's MasterCard. Hope you guys have a great evening and take care.